Okay. So friends, we'll invite everyone to come forward and to find a seat with your family. I'm sure there will be plenty of time for hide and seek a little bit later on today. But in the meantime, we'll invite everyone to take a moment to make sure that their cell phones or their pagers or anything else that might make a sound, to make sure that's off or in the silent mode. And friends, we're gathered together for the memorial service of Donald Ross. And as we begin the service, we'll call upon and ask for members of the Navy to come forward for a presentation.
Family and guests, it's an honor for military to be here to help remember your loved ones. For rendering of military honors, please rise if you are so able. Bugler, please render taps. States. United States of America. And a great promotion. Please accept this call as a symbol of this country's gratitude for your help and honor and good service. God bless you. And the United States. Detail. Final. Signature. Ready. 2. Right. Face. Forward. March.
So to begin with, I'm going to lead you in a prayer. And it's a prayer that we say when we hear, when we know, when we finally acknowledge that someone has passed away. And it goes back to the story of Jacob when he found out and he heard that he thought that his son Joseph had died. He was so overcome with grief and sorrow that he tore his clothes. Nowadays, we don't do as much of the tearing of the clothes, but we have this ribbon, and the immediate mourners wear this as an outward sign of their mourning and of their grief. So I'm going to say a word, and I'll ask you to repeat it after me. Baruch, Atah, Adonai, Dayan, Ha'emet. That means praise are you, our God, the true judge. And we can say Adonai Natan, Adonai Lakach, Yehi, Shem, Adonai, Nevorah. That means God has given and God has taken away, still we praise Him. So if you'd like, you can make a little tear in the ribbon. You can make it up and down, you can make it side by side, right? You want me to do it here? Yes. Adonai, who may abide in your house, who may dwell in your holy mountain, those who are upright, who do justly, who speak the truth within their hearts, who do not slander others or wrong them or bring shame upon them, who scorn the lawless but honor those who revere God, who give their word and come what may, do not retract, who do not exploit others and who do not take bribes, those who live in this way shall never be shaken. I'll continue with the Hebrew of the 23rd Psalm, and then I'll invite everyone to join together in English, and that's available in the service folder that you should receive. Adonai ro'i lo echsar, binot desha yarbitzeni, almei menuchot yinachaleni, nashi yeshovev, yancheni b'ma'agleit tzedek lema'an shemo, gam ki elech begetzal mavet, lo irara ki ata imadi, Shivtecha umishantecha, hema yenachamuni, taroch lefanai shulchan neged sorarai, dishanta b'shemen roshi kosi revaya, achtov v'chesed yirdafuni, kol yemei chayai, v'shavti b'veit Adonai, le'orech yamim. And if you'd like to join with me together. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He maketh me to lie down in green pastures. He leadeth me beside the still waters. He restoreth my soul. He leadeth me in the paths of righteousness for his name's sake. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for thou art with me. Thy rod and thy staff, they comfort me. Thou preparest a table before me in the presence of my enemies. Thou anointest my head with oil, my cup runneth over. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I will dwell in the house of the Lord forever. And I'll share briefly from Psalm 121 Esa enai el heharim me'ayin yavo Ezri. Ezri me'im Adonai oseh shamayim va'aretz. I lift my eyes to the mountains. What is the source of my help? My help comes from Adonai, maker of heaven and earth. God will not let your foot give way. Your protector will not slumber. See, the protector of Israel neither slumbers nor sleeps. God is your guardian. God is your protection at your right hand. The sun will not strike you by day, nor the moon by night. God will guard you from all harm. God will guard your soul, your going and coming, now and forever. And from Ecclesiastes, we learn, for everything there is a season, a time for every experience under heaven, a time to be born and a time to die, a time to plant and a time to uproot what is planted, a time to tear down and a time to build up, a time to weep and a time to laugh, a time to grieve and a time to dance, a time to throw stones and a time to gather stones, a time to embrace and a time to refrain from embracing, a time to seek and a time to lose, a time to keep and a time to discard, a time to tear and a time to sow, and a time to keep silent and a time to speak. This is the part of the service where we'll invite some of the family and friends to come forward, and I believe we're going to begin with Libby.
If you'd like to wear your ears, now would be the time. The little curly point goes right in the front, and the long part is behind the earlobe. It is not required. Everything that has a beginning has an end. Today, we celebrate Donald Ross, his beginning 90 years ago tomorrow, even as we gather to commemorate his body's end less than 1 month ago. Every time we step into love with someone, every time, whether it's romantic love, filial love, paternal love, or just sweet friendship, we are signing up for an ending. For every relationship that begins will end either with a breakup or with the death of one party. So some might say that's a reason to avoid love. Doing so would be the only way to avoid heartbreak. But to avoid love would be to miss out on the glory of life, the messy, complicated, meaningful joy that is loving another person. And so, over and over again, we begin, knowing that things will end. Even knowing that the ending will be painful, we turn towards each other, recognizing that loss is the price that we pay for loving another person and being loved in return. Every ending is different. Some endings are sudden and unexpected. One day our beloved is with us, and the next there is a hole where they once were. That's not how it was for Don. His ending was drawn out. When death lingers long at the door, when the beloved dies a little at a time over many years, we are given the gift of preparation, but the price that we pay for that gift is that our beloved changes, subtly at first, and then in the end, the person who departs is someone new. When death comes, it can be hard to remember our beloved as they once were. In essence, we must grieve two people, and it can be difficult to do each of them justice. Today, I am dressed as an elf to honor the memory of Donald before death began her long dance with him. I honor the man with the sonorous, inviting laugh, the razor-sharp intellect, the dancing eyes, the man who loved horses and comedy and Tolkien. That Don would have loved that there are elf ears in the audience. So, if you're happy wearing them, I'm sure he's happy seeing them. Don loved Tolkien, When previews for the new movies of The Lord of the Rings began to play, he announced, "I want to see this movie with people who appreciate Tolkien. So I'm coming here." And so he flew from Arizona to San Francisco for opening night. We held hands in the darkness before the film began. 3 hours later, after gasping and laughing and crying to see the images we had always imagined finally reproduced on the screen, when the film ended, all three of us applauded our hands off. We did it again the next year for the second film, and we did it again a year later. So I'd like to read from an excerpt from the illustrated poem that I wrote, that's over there, that I wrote for Dawn's 65th birthday, because I think that it calls back the man that Dawn was. Dondolf the Blue is his mage name, whispered by men with great awe, and fierce is his face to the lawless, this wizard whom fate named my paw. Quick as a snake is his mind's edge, terrible the fall of his staff. But in his wise eyes lies a twinkle, and great is his booming loud laugh. Sure as a dwarf through life's long march, fleet as an elf on his horse, this wizard comes when he is needed, though far be that road from his course. For ne'er is there a champion braver, nor a hero so wise and so true, nor a riddle answerer more clever than the wizard named Dondolf the Blue. If you're a Tolkien fan, then you know that wizards were not simple heroes. They were very complicated beings. So too was our Don. He had a big heart. He also had a big temper. He could have endless patience, or he could snap in a moment for the smallest thing. When you were inside his affections, you were in the warmest place imaginable. But when you were outside, there was nothing but cold. I say this not to disparage the man that he was, but to remember him. He was at times a hero to every one of us in this room, but he was always human. He was complex, and he was difficult, and he was wonderful, all at the same time. Another thing that Tolkien fans know is that every wizard must face tremendous trials to ascend to their full power. Our Dondolf wrestled his Balrog for years. To lose one's intellect slowly, particularly for one as brilliant as Dawn was, has got to be the hardest path one can have to follow. He shared as much with me in the early days of his illness. He talked about how scared he was to be losing his acuity. But as the path progressed, the sharing of those conversations faded into shadow. That aspect of his suffering remained obvious to all who loved him, almost to the very end. I was not with him in his final months. I watched from a distance as Lorraine and Richard and Linda and Meredith navigated the complexities of his slow descent. I saw how some days Dawn was his purest, most loving self, and others he was his most complex aspect. His wife and his children and his granddaughter navigated caring for him no matter which part of his character was present, though it cost them at times dearly. These parts of the story are difficult, but they are important. Don wrestled his Balrog, but he did not do so alone. His loved ones fought by his side for the entire path. And now Dondolf's final battle is over, and the rest of us must wrestle with our own demons as we adjust to life without him. That's the way life is. You love, you lose, you heal. And if you're really, really lucky, you get to do it again and again and again. In this room, I'm sure there are many different beliefs surrounding what happened to Don after his body gave its last breath. For me, what I believe and what I wish are a little different. Today I'll be talking about what I hope is true. I'd like to believe that all Don's suffering had a payout. At the very least, that there was a moment of peace as his brain finally slipped into rest. But at its best, I'd like to believe that, like a wizard, Don slipped from his mortal body and into something cleaner and purer and more powerful. Near the saga's end, Gandalf the Wizard is giving comfort to Pippin, a small hobbit, as they await their final battle and what they believe to be their own certain death. I'd like to share that scene with you. The hobbit says, "I didn't think it would end this way." Gandalf's concerned, wizened face melts into a mischievous grin. End? Oh no, the journey doesn't end here. Death is just another path, and one that we all must take. The gray rain curtain of this world rolls back, and all turns to silver glass. Then you see it. Hopeful, the hobbit looks up at him and says, "What, Gandalf? What do you see?" White shores, and beyond, a far green country under a swift sunrise. "Well," says the hobbit, straightening up, "that isn't so bad." "No," says Gandalf, smiling. "No, it isn't." If you wish, I invite you to join me in picturing Dawn. You can close your eyes if you want to, or leave them open if that's better. Picture him with his shock of white hair, his twinkling eyes, his mischievous grin. Picture him in his jeans and boots. He has just reunited with his beloved mare, Dream Girl. He is so happy. He has settled into his endurance saddle, prepared for a long ride. He clucks to her, and she starts forward, flicking her feet and picking up speed in her joy at being reunited with him. Picture them galloping through green fields in the building light of dawn. Behind him, the brilliant rays of the sun crest the horizon, until both of them are lost to our sight. May we all be compassionate with ourselves and with each other. I wish all of us healing and hope. And may we honor Dawn's memory by never hesitating to love and lose and love again. May Dawn's memory be a blessing to us all. You can take off your ears if you want to.
Hello. So I just kind of wrote down some memories. I don't know how to really write something as well as, Jaji or Libby. So one of my fondest memories was when I went on my mitzvah that I wasn't really told was a mitzvah until I was probably in my 30s. But I was flown out to California for a trip along the coast. Many memories, including the trees and the PCH and Knott's Berry Farm. But probably the best memory is the three of us spitting cherry seeds out the PCH highway for seemingly the whole trip. Endless bags of fruit stand cherry seeds. So, everyone here knows that along with his stories along the trail, he used to hum these made-up songs that came out of nowhere, and people claimed for years that they hated it and annoyed him. And I know that everyone in this room loved it, and I think I got a little joy out of the fact that it annoyed you all so much. So I was happy for that too. When we were kids, they lived, California, Arizona. And so it was always a big deal to pick up the phone and call him. And I remember he must have just hated being on the phone because he would pick up the phone and give you his I love you, hope everything's doing good, and give you a quick, well, here's your grandmother. And those kind of carried on through the day, and thankfully he could express that through text the same way. I guess some of my greatest memories are, as Libby said, were making him laugh. If you made him laugh, you weren't cheated. You felt like, a comedian that got the whole room to stand up and laughed. And it was extremely pleasing. something, we kind of had a family competition between maybe Meredith and myself and Jaji, who could get him laugh the most, and I think everybody thought they won, so I think in the end, he probably was the winner, so. So I'm 41, which is crazy, but that means I had a grandfather for 41 years, which is incredible, and he was my grandpa. He wasn't especially hard on me, but he let his opinion know. He was able to adjust to the snarky kind of wise-ass guy I am, and our relationship really flourished in that way. He was very proud that I worked hard to get my dream job, and I shared a lot of those experiences with him, from historic events to cool game endings to just beautiful light over the field. The text went to him first, and when I got a text back, it made my day. He lived a great life. He saw everything. He saw the world. Everyone knows that. It's pretty cool. I'd say some of my favorite memories that I'll always take would be spent with Jaji and him and with my boys, who he loved. We spent a lot of time with him towards the end. We were close, so we tried to make sure we didn't leave anything on the table. I don't know if I could read the last part, but the last day I told him that I loved him so much. He told me that he loved me so much, and when I walked out the door, he told me to hug my wife for him. So that's kind of how it ended, and I'm happy with that. So that's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Grandpa. Thank you.
Ugh. Thanks for making me cry before I even started. This is, well, I'll just read it. Fluorescent lights hum overhead. A light snowfall dusts my hospital window, and 2-day-old, 6-pound Nolan sleeps on my chest. Skin to skin, I watch him breathe. Can I take this down? Oh, okay. His little chest rising and falling, so much faster than mine. We're each other's furnace, though I've pulled up the blankets in anticipation of our visitors. It's November 11th, 2017. Just then, I hear the knock-knock at the door, and a sing-songy baritone says, "Knock, knock." "Come in, guys," I say. The door clacks open, revealing Grandpa's and Nana's smiling faces. "Hello, granddaughter and great-grandson." Grandpa Don's thick Bronx accent sounds like home, all the voices of my childhood. "Hello, dear grandparents," I say. "Happy Veterans Day, Grandpa." "Thank you, my dear, and happy birthday to you, granddaughter," Grandpa says. "Happy birthday, sweetheart," says Nana. They both bum rush the bed, bestowing all the hugs and kisses. "Thanks, guys," I say. "Grandpa, your shirt is making me hungry." For the occasion, Grandpa donned his U.S. Navy ball cap and famous Ray's Pizza t-shirt. No higher honor could I imagine for this intro to his newest progeny. "Well, then it's a good thing we came with a nosh," he says, producing the most beautiful chocolate cupcake I've ever seen, piled high with ganache. "Ganache," I say. "Could it be anything else?" he says. We both giggle. See, it's an inside joke. When Nana and Grandpa were living in Arizona, Sean and I went to visit them many times. But this one time, we were riding around with Grandpa in the golf cart, on our way to pick up the best New York slice he'd found within golf cart range. And we were wondering what to do for dessert. Grandpa was quick to reassure, and he told us about this little bakery he'd stumbled upon. Very Jewish, very New York. And then he said the famous, gangstery words that I'll remember the rest of my life. He leaned in real close, and in hushed tones, as though telling us the combination of his luggage, he said, "I got a ganache guy." Those words hung in the air for approximately 2 seconds before Sean and Grandpa and I absolutely lost it. I mean, we died laughing. And Grandpa's big guffaw boomed across the desert, ricocheting off all the golf carts parked outside Outback Steakhouse. We were so uproarious, he had to reduce speed from 15 miles per hour to 3 for fear of toppling the cart. Long story short, we got the pizza, which was pretty damn good, and we got the ganache cake from Grandpa's ganache guy, which was next level amazing. And from then on, whenever we celebrated a special event or a birthday or a Tuesday, whenever an excuse arose for a smackerel of something chocolate, we got ganache. So, when Nana and Grandpa visited me in the hospital after delivering Nolan, could my birthday cupcake be anything other than ganache? No, it could not. Grandpa, do you remember the afternoon a couple summers ago when we talked about the episode of Comedians in Cars Getting Coffee with Carl Reiner and Mel Brooks? We were gushing over the sweetness of their lifelong friendship, their kinship, really. And I remember telling you how much you mean to me, how lucky I am to have had 3 sets of grandparents in my life, to call my grandpa my friend. And you said, my dear, you and I are Hamisha. And I said, Gesundheit. And you called me a smartass. And we giggled, and then I asked what Hamisha means. You paused a minute, because there's no exact translation from the Yiddish. You know, you said, it's like our stuff. And I said, our stuff, like Carl Reiner and Mel Brooks. And you said, oh, they were beyond Hamisha. They lived so long, they had to go beyond it. And I said, what's beyond Hamisha? I asked, is there a word for that? No, you said, well, I mean, it's called death. We both lost it like we had on that golf cart rolling up on your ganache guy. Grandpa, I said, wiping laughing tears from my eyes. I love you. I love you more, kiddo. He hugged me, cheek to cheek, skin to skin. Thanks for our stuff, Grandpa. Here's to a ganache guy beyond Hamisha.
Thank you. Ziva? Nope.
So my name is Beverly, in case you don't know who I am. My husband Michael and I first met Donald and Lorraine at a temple membership dinner just about 8 years ago. We actually didn't get to spend much time with them that night, but we exchanged phone numbers and promised to get together soon. And get together we did. Lorraine became a big sister to me, and Donald enchanted us with his vast knowledge of just about everything from his lifetime of experience. The 4 of us would get together as often as we could in each other's homes and in our favorite Italian restaurant, where we were usually given our own private booth with a curtain so we could be in our own special world, sharing good food and great adventures. The wait staff would often come in and check on us because there was always so much hysterical laughter coming from our little booth. I guess that laughter and that twinkle in the eye are the 2 things I will always remember about Donald. His eyes would light up when he would talk about his amazing family, with each generation bringing him new delights and more stories to share with us. We were together for some truly great times and some really sad ones as well. But Donald faced whatever life had in store for him with strength and dignity. While we know that the world will go on, it's hard to imagine it without Donald's larger-than-life-size personality, his wonderful laugh, and those sparkling eyes. There's a lovely story I recently heard about an aging couple who both knew that the husband's life was nearing the end. The wife cried to her husband, "Darling, how am I supposed to live without you?" And the wise husband replied, "Take the love that you have for me and spread it around, and all that love will fill up the space and time until we're together again." And I know that my dear friend Lorraine will do just that because she is filled with so much love. And every time she shares her love with us, She will be sharing a piece of Donald's loving spirit with us as well. May his memory be for a blessing.
Thank you, Becky.
Okay. All right. Ziva, unrequested, decided to write some things down that she wanted to share. And now, even though I said I didn't want to speak, I am somehow up here speaking. So I am reading this on what Ziva wrote with Malachi's help. This is me and Malachi's speech. He was our favorite great grandpa. We love him so much. We miss him so much. He was so funny. We loved when he burped and said, "Pardon me." And now every time anyone in the family burps, we say, "Pardon me." We have so many memories with him. May he rest in peace.
Thank you, Ziva. That was lovely.
So I think most of you read what I wrote about my dad a day or two after he died. And I wasn't going to say anything because I'm kind of a wreck about it. And so I know he would have expected me to say something and to be funny and entertaining and all the things I just can't do right now. So I thought I would stand up here and give you some memories of him that are random, like me wearing Strider's cloak, which certainly makes it easier to dress for a funeral. I recommend it greatly. I remember when, actually one of the first memories I have of him is him laying on the couch, me laying on top of his chest, and we had these Snoopy and the Red Baron airplanes that he was clearly just tired of doing with me, but he flew them around with me. I remember him being very angry and flipping the table in the kitchen and all the dinner going everywhere. I also remember me crying and everyone being upset that he had made me upset, and all I was really upset was that I had made the perfect bowl of Rice Krispies and sugar and it was gone. I remember him laying in the bed, reading hysterically from Woody Allen books, and not being, I'm sure he did it with you too, Lynn, not being able to get through a chapter or 2 paragraphs for 20 minutes. And he would reload and crack at the same places. It was spectacular. I remember him letting me watch the movie Hair as long as I didn't giggle at the naked people. I remember him taking me to see Blazing Saddles and translating the Yiddish, Du bist Mashuga. Still one of the funniest things. I remember him dragging all of us to South Africa and whatever the hell that was. I mean, it was great, but I don't know what the hell that was. That was a thing for 3 years. I remember him becoming a cowboy, whatever the hell that was, which was amazing and wonderful to watch him. I remember once turning his horse out, Dream Girl, because I was a horse person too, because of him, right? So the whole Tolkien thing, and you know, I remember my parents used to dump me on my sister every summer since I was like 9, and I would be at my sister's house for like 3 months every summer. And he had given me big Lord of the Rings book, the biggest. It was all 3 volumes, but it was like, whoa. And there was a map in that book. And I remember going to my brother's work, because somehow I was his indentured servant, but using the copy machine to make that map and being in Linda's and Pat's backyard on Rosedale, burning the map and aging it. You had no idea what I was doing in your backyard. If I wasn't mowing the lawn, you had no idea what was going on. And that was, all this fantasy was because he turned me on to all this old science fiction that is now super old science fiction. He loved it. So that's some random. I remember when they moved to Arizona. I was talking about when he became a cowboy and whatever that was. And that I had also, he was riding, so I started riding. Actually, I started riding when I was 6 in Africa. That was weird. And I remember being on the trail with him. He was on Shaw, and I was on the horse you used to ride, which is even weirder that you rode horses, Lorraine. And we were on the trail for a long time, and we were behind some people, and he went, "Come on, let's canter up above these people. Let them eat our dust for a while." I was like, whoa, that's my dad. The move to Chicago was hard, but it was made better by knowing that all y'all were here for him and my mom. And that I could watch from afar and drop in and be helpful where I could. When he started to slide, it was hard. It's like 8 years of this. Towards the end, when he really couldn't hold up conversations anymore, and I would talk to him in FaceTime. Okay, let's just talk about what a miracle that is. We used to watch Star Trek, and they had video chat, and we'd dream about how amazing that was, and we have it. But I could see him, and I could see if I tried to engage him too long that he would get upset. So I would call as often as possible and have 1-minute conversations, try to slide in my joke to make him laugh, and then get out before he knew what I was doing. So I think I was successful. He sure seemed to laugh. If you don't know this, we had planned, COVID didn't make any of this easier with him. I couldn't come out, but video chat seemed to help a lot. My bride and my anniversary was January 24th, and in November we decided we would take a trip, which was anxiety-ridden for me, flying somewhere with a mask on in a tube with other people. But we decided to do it. We went somewhere where there was no one. And on our anniversary, we took a nap and woke up to a text from Linda that said our dad just died. And I was able to FaceTime them right away and talk to my sister and talk to my mom and see my dad, who had the audacity to die on my anniversary. That's a joke that would have made him laugh, by the way. The best memories of him is me figuring out the most inappropriate thing to say because I knew it would make him laugh. So we couldn't get home, so I'm glad we're doing this now, the day before his birthday, which seems to make a lot of sense to me. And thank you all for everything you did for him while we were in California and couldn't get out here with any safety to them. And so now I'm babbling about nothing. I do want to pick up on something Sean said about my dad's humming. I would like us all to take a minute. Right now, as soon as I say his humming, and I'm sure as soon as Sean said it, you all heard whatever it was that stuck in your head of his humming. So I'd like to take 30 seconds for us to all hum to honor him. So go. Ramona, Jism, Jism again. Buddhism Tatanda. All right, and while you're enjoying that, I'm now going crazy, so I'm asking you to stop me for 30 seconds. And who's ever next should come up.
Thanks, sweetheart. Of course, of course. Come on, Steve. Come on, Steve. I'll stand here with you too. It's very, very sweet of you. Thank you.
Okay, she really wanted to say it herself, and she's added some things. Okay?
We love him. Me and Malachi love him so much. We miss him so much. He was so funny. We loved when he just laughed at random times. We loved when he said, "Pardon me." We have so many memories with him. Happy early birthday to him. I love how we have something in common, which is singing. May he rest in peace.
Good girl.
Thank you, sweetheart. That was beautiful. Thank you.
I was very lucky because the day before Don died, he and I had a lovely conversation. We talked about our incredible children, our grandchildren, our great-grandchildren. We decided that we did a good job with them, as they are all wonderful and kind people. We talked about the places where we lived and the amazing trips we took around the world. We talked about the wondrous things we witnessed. For instance, we were driving over a mountain to Cape Town, and as we reached the summit, thousands of monarch butterflies filled the sky. Bright blue became orange and black. I can still see it. It was absolutely unforgettable. We talked about sitting at the Zuider Zee with our lunch of Dutch bread and salami and a fresh peach. We talked about standing on the tip of Cape Point, where the waters of the Atlantic and the Indian Oceans meet. It was magnificent. Don told me that he loved me, and he apologized for not telling me more often. He also thanked me for caring for him, and that brought to mind a letter he wrote to me many years ago. I quote, "You remind me of a spring night or a summer breeze, the crisp air of fall, the feeling I get when reading a good book. No man is an island," a poet once said, "but I could be, providing you with a sea around me. Your warmth could shelter and protect me." Thank you.
Thank you all for sharing. Rabbi Alvin Fine wrote, "Birth is a beginning and death a destination, but life is a journey, a going, a growing from stage to stage, from childhood to maturity and youth to age, from innocence to awareness and ignorance to knowing, from foolishness to discretion, and then perhaps to wisdom, from weakness to strength, or strength to weakness and often back again, from health to sickness and back we pray to health again, from offense to forgiveness and from loneliness to love, from joy to gratitude, from pain to compassion and grief to understanding, from fear to faith, from defeat to defeat to defeat, until looking backward or ahead, we see that victory lies not at some high place along the way, but in having made the journey, stage by stage, a sacred pilgrimage. Birth is a beginning and death a destination, but life is a journey, a sacred pilgrimage made stage by stage, from birth to death to life everlasting. At this time, I'll ask everyone, if you're able, to please rise, and I'll recite first the memorial prayer, the prayer El Malei Rachamim. I'll say it first in Hebrew, and then I'll invite everyone to join together in the English translation. El Malei Rachamim, Shochein Bamromim, Hamtzei Menucha Nechona Tachat Kanfei Hashchina, Im Kedoshim Utohorim, Kezohar Harakia Mazhirim, Et Nishmat Haish Hayakir Hazeh, Shehalach Leolamo, Bal Harachamim Yastirehu Beseter Kanafav Leolamim, Veitzror Bitzror HaChaim Et Nishmato, Adonai Hu Nachlato, Ve'anuach B'Shalom Al Mishkavo V'Nomar. Amen. And at the bottom of the page, O God, full of compassion, thou who dwellest on high, grant perfect rest beneath the sheltering wings of thy presence, among the holy and pure who shine as the brightness of the firmament, unto the soul of Donald Ross, who is gone unto eternity. Lord of mercy, bring him under the cover of thy wings, and let his soul be bound up in the bond of eternal life. Be God's possession, and may his repose be peace. And together we say, Amen. The last prayer that we'll say together is the words of the Mourner's Kaddish. And the Mourner's Kaddish, even though we call it the Mourner's Kaddish, it isn't a prayer about death, and it isn't a prayer about dying or loss or grief or sorrow. It's a prayer that talks about the greatness of God. And over the generations, our rabbis have taught that at a time like this, when we've lost someone, and we are shaken, and we are sad, and we are wondering, this is especially the time when we should reaffirm and double down on our faith and say these words of praise. So if you will care to join with me, Yitkadal v'yitkadash shemei Rabbah, Be'alma divra chirute v'amlich malchute, B'chayechon uvyomechon uv'chaye dechol Beit Yisrael, Ba'agala uvizman kariv v'imru Amen. Yehei shmei Rabbah mevorach le'olam olamei almaya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh v'yithadar v'yit'aleh v'yithalal shemei dekudesha barich hu. Le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata tushbechata v'nechemata da'amiran be'alma v'imru Amen. Yehei shlama Rabbah min shemaya v'chaim aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru Amen. Oseh shalom bimromav hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru Amen. May the one who makes peace in the high heavens grant peace over us, over all Israel, and over all the world. And together we say, Amen. And the last thing that we say to the mourners is also at the bottom of this pamphlet. In Hebrew, it's Hamakom Yenachem Etchem Betoch Sha'ar Avelei Tzion V'Yerushalayim. May God comfort you among the mourners of Zion and Jerusalem. Amen. And we invite you and encourage you to go forth in peace, and we wish for you a Shabbat Shalom. And this does conclude the services here in the chapel. Thank you. Oh, sure. Sure. And just as a reminder, friends, we'll be joining at Linda's house for lunch, and that's at 402 Bay Tree Circle in Vernon Hills.
Thank you.